what we've got here is failure to communicate. Some men you just can't reach. So you get what we had here last week, which is the way he wants it. Well, he gets it, and I don't like it any more than you, man.
All right, welcome to podcast number 6. I'm your host, Matt, and as always, I'm joined by Jason, Brian, occasionally Diego. And tonight we are reviewing the iconic movie Cool as Ice with Vanilla Ice.
Well, this is the prequel to Cool as Ice.
Oh, the prequel. Okay, Cool Hand Luke. 1967. I'll just read the quick summary here. When petty criminal Luke Jackson is sentenced to 2 years in Florida prison farm, he doesn't play by the rules of either the sadistic warden or the yard's resident heavy dragline, who ends up admiring the new guy's unbreakable will. Luke's bravado, even in the face of repeated stints in the prison's dreaded solitary confinement cell, the box, make him a rebel hero to his fellow convicts and a thorn in the side of the prison officers.
So, do you guys really think that the prison warden was psychotic?
No.
He was some kind of, he certainly sounded like some kind of sexual deviant.
Well, wait, this is supposed to take place in deep
Not the
South Florida.
stereotype.
Yeah.
This is supposed to take place in deep South Florida, so I think that's just the accent, and the inflection and the speaking down there. But really, is he sadistic?
I didn't think so. I mean, Luke pretty much got away with a lot.
I think early on they were pretty easy on him. I mean, at the end they were hard on him, but I think at the beginning they were going way too easy on him.
But the dude kept escaping. Of course, they're going to be hard on him.
He forced it. He forced it on. He brought it on himself. It was the point. I mean, I don't know.
That's the whole point. That's the whole point of that famous quote. Is what we got here is failure to communicate. What he wants, he gets. Like, this is what I mean, that's the whole point of that, right?
And even at the very, very beginning, the very first time that the warden talks to him, he's basically like, "What the fuck are you doing here? You got 2 years for messing with parking with parking meters. What is your what?"
Well,
he's going in through the whole deal of his
military,
pretty much
Bronze
get it
Star,
right,
Purple Heart, Sergeant.
Get it right away. It's like this guy has a chronic problem with authority figures, and he can't help himself. He can't get out of his own way, and it's 2 hours of watching that.
What is your major malfunction?
Yeah.
Seriously. So I read.
He did cut off a lot of parking meters, though.
Yeah, he did, and that was and why did he do it, Matt? Why did he say that he did it?
Nothing else to do.
Yeah.
Small town.
He was settling a score. They don't say why, but the point is, again, somebody messed with him. He felt it was unfair, and he's just one of those people who just can't get out of their own way, because you know what? Every once in a while, bad stuff's going to happen to you. Life sucks, get a helmet. The guy's like just,
He can't own it. He's got to fight
at all.
against
It's always somebody else's fault. And he says again and again and again throughout the movie, he's basically not taking responsibility for any of his own poor decisions. And I'm like, this guy's supposed to be the protagonist of the story, and I can't get behind him.
I don't side by him. It's a good movie, really, really good movie. But you're right, like protagonist of the story.
I thought George Kennedy was the protagonist. No.
Well,
he's
Dragline was a beast in this movie.
He was a beast.
Dragline's great, and yet at the same time, Luke messes with this guy. This guy only had a 2-year bid. He would have been out, and then he just couldn't help himself but to try to escape with him that third time or whatever. And probably cost himself another 10 years just trying to escape.
Yeah, unluckily he didn't get shot.
His own life, he ruins everybody's life around him.
Right, but in Luke's defense, he didn't make him go run after the car and get in the car.
No, but he was such a figure that he was looked up to and charismatic that was his right-hand man. So he was inspired to do the same thing.
I think we since we missed a little time between shows, I think we lost some of our structure, because I think we should have let Matt, since this was his choice, give us a brief synopsis of the story before we get far off track. Did he? I mean, that was briefer than brief. That was pretty brief.
Yeah, but hey, you know what? Sometimes you got to streamline this crap. But
well, yeah. I mean, I guess what I would say was the story in a nutshell is there's a guy who comes from a small town, not too dissimilar from Springboro, where we're from, and there was nothing to do. He got bored, and he was drinking because what else are you going to do in a small town that doesn't have anything else to do? He seemed to be a little hard on him. I mean, you grow up in Springboro, you do stupid things because there's nothing else to do. I mean, but anyway,
Well, hold on. As the only one who didn't grow up in Springboro, why don't we? As the only one who didn't grow up in Ohio, right near Dayton, what dumb things did you do, Matt?
He didn't commit any crimes like that. Man.
Well,
let's put this perspective.
If I would have had some parking meters to cut off, I would have been cutting them off.
No, he wouldn't have.
And it was all your fault because you were the bad influence.
Yeah, no, yeah, right. Opposite.
Who taught us how to make fire bombs, Jason?
Yeah. What did you ever do with that? Nothing. Anyway, let's put this perspective. Being a teenager in a small town is not the same as being a dude in his 30s in a small town like Luke was when he was up to no good.
Late 30s, I think.
Yeah, he was graying out by that time. I don't know what age he was supposed to be, 35, 40, I don't know. But
I mean, coming back from, he had been in the war, he had a distinguished service record, had obviously been in there for a while, and then he comes back, and they insinuate later that he had a woman in his life, had an opportunity, but just couldn't get right.
Couldn't stay out of trouble.
And so he's not. Yeah, it's not like you're some 17 or 18, 20-year-old goofball doing dumb stuff because you're bored. This is a guy who just can't get his life on track and is pointing the finger at everybody else instead of taking the responsibility for his own mistakes.
He sabotages himself.
What'd you guys think of the scene with his mama?
Sad.
Isn't that? I mean, that was a weird scene.
I read the actress was only 11 years older
11 years older than him.
That probably didn't help.
Part of the interesting thing about the whole thing to me was that, that part was kind of like, it just was confirmation. Because you pretty much knew, like, somebody who has that much obvious potential, right? I mean, that's the whole point of this movie is here's a guy who has genuine leadership potential. I mean, he's a leader of men, whether he wants to or not. He doesn't want to, but he has the potential to do great things. He was a war hero. You can see in the scene when they're doing the road work.
Car in the blacktop in the road.
In fact, if he goes into that space, he doesn't back down from dragline. He gets his ass beat, but he earns everybody's respect and ends up being the leader of that group. And yet at the same time, he won't accept the responsibility for that. He won't accept responsibility for himself or anyone around him. And so you had to know there was like a lack of structure in his life. Why was this guy like this? And all the conversation with the mom did is basically confirm it. That the guy came from a bad situation. And
she said she had high hopes for him.
Yeah, but I mean, at the same time, it's sad, but it's like, man, you got an opportunity to either choose to use that as a crutch or overcome it, and he never could overcome it. And the comment he makes, I got pissed when I was watching it because I'm listening to him and he's talking about, Mama, all I wanted was some elbow room, and I'm like, God damn it, dude, take some responsibility for yourself.
Yep.
I was like, if this is my son who ends up like this, I'm going to be angry.
Don't
because
enable
you got
him.
All the potential in the world. You got all the potential in the world, and you just keep basically kicking your own ass. Like, it's ridiculous.
I'm glad you guys don't see him as like the protagonist, really. I mean, he's one of these people who, you can't. I can't imagine anybody like watching this movie and thinking he's a protagonist and the jailers are somehow terrible people. To me, they did exactly what any other group of people running a prison would do.
Yeah. You got to maintain discipline and order, right?
Right.
The only one that was bullshit, the only part that was bullshit, though,
when he got shot?
No, that wasn't bullshit. I mean, that's, he had pushed that dude.
Yeah,
you knew. I mean, that was a pretty
he wasn't shot earlier.
Kidding.
Well, he tried to shoot him. I think it was the second time he left.
When he was doing the bush trick.
Yeah, he tried
shaking the bushes.
He tried to shoot him.
And this is one of the problems I have with watching movies that are this old, because you lose context. And part of the problem is that you knew as soon as they showed the guys. I mean, the guy with the mirrored sunglasses with the mirrors on the inside.
You knew what was happening.
Dude, you knew he was going to kill him. You knew it. I mean, the foreshadowing was so.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. It was so obvious.
Boss Godfrey, I think.
Yeah.
You knew that he was going to shoot him in the first time you see the guy, go grab for the gun. And it was one of those deals where you're like, okay, is this because I've seen 100,000 movies since then that is really, really obvious with the foreshadowing, or is this one just really obvious with the foreshadowing? But
I think it's obvious.
I thought was bullshit. There were two parts that I thought were kind of bullshit on the warden's part. One was when they preemptively put him in solitary.
Yes.
That was
because they thought he was going to escape to see his mom's funeral. Yeah.
And then the second one was when they just had him dig. I mean, they broke him.
Digging the graves and filling them back in,
and then filling it back in and digging it again and breaking.
Yeah, but that was punishment. That was
What's
punishment.
your dirt doing in my ditch?
Yeah, I get it.
That was punishment for the first escape. I don't think that was out of bounds.
You don't think you beat him though? You don't make him dig.
I think that's cruel and unusual. I mean, but that was pretty rough. But at
that moment in history, I'm not so sure that was pretty rough though.
I don't either.
So that's true.
So wait, you're complaining about the part where he's put in the box before his mom.
Before he didn't even do anything wrong.
I think that was wrong.
Yeah. Well,
he's
you heard
grieving.
what he said, right?
He's grieving.
He said, "I'm only doing my job." He's like, "Well, it doesn't make it right, you know."
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great quote. Jason, you're going to steal all the fucking quotes before we get to the end, by the way.
Sorry, jeez.
I just wanted to say really quick, I had a quick thing about, so, everyone, as good as Luke was, I mean, regardless of whether you like Luke as the protagonist or whatever, he played this role amazingly, I thought. But George Kennedy was amazing. So he was the one that won the best supporting actor.
Was he a little slow? Was he supposed to be a little slow?
I don't know. I think he's supposed to be Southern.
Well, no, he didn't know how to read or anything. He was from the SEC. He was from the SEC.
No, but you know how people in the South speak. They're very slow. They take their time, and that guy. He was a Southern gentleman. Without the gentleman.
But I was going to say, in addition to, George Kennedy won Best Supporting Actor, and then also the Bobby Pin got Best Support for an Actress.
Really?
Wait, who got
Bobby Pin?
The Bobby Pin.
That's a joke.
Okay, I'm lost. What am I missing here?
The car wash thing.
You don't remember the car wash?
The car wash.
Normal men would remember that scene.
Oh, the girl. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I remember her. Absolutely.
Lucille.
Lucille.
Yeah. I mean, for a movie that was made in the 60s, wow.
He was going on like a rapist.
Dude, I was impressed. I mean, for a movie made in 1967, that was an impressive scene.
You mean to put him on the glass part?
The whole thing, man. She turned it out. That's for sure.
That's where Sir Mix-a-Lot got his inspiration for the follow-up video, Put Him on the Glass, which you guys have probably never seen.
Who was that actress? Do we know? What's her name? Is she famous?
Joy Harmon.
Not famous.
Joy Harmon, and she's never done anything else.
Yeah.
No way.
Never.
That was it.
I mean, this was the only stuff she's ever done. She
didn't have to speak. I'll tell you that.
Oh.
Hey, Brian hit on something earlier when he was going on to his spiel, kind of not being sympathetic to Luke, but I think he hit on something that was not really explained. But I think if you try to think about a backstory on that character, to kind of put some reason together why he's such a loser, do you think something happened to him? He was in the Korean War, like maybe he did some heroic deed to save people. They put him in a sergeant position, and then, he did something intentionally to get knocked back down because he didn't want leadership responsibilities.
I mean, it could have just been PTSD, and they had no idea about any of that back then. So.
Yeah, but it's a movie.
Back
Come on.
then, men were men. They didn't have PTSD.
I think they alluded to that, though. That he wasn't.
But I took a pill for that shit.
Yeah. I don't know, or maybe he was leading a group of guys and they got killed or something bad happened to him. That's his Purple Heart.
JJ, I think you hit it, because if you remember, when he comes back after the first time that he escapes, and everybody thinks he's made it scot-free, and they bring him back in and he's gotten the shit kicked out of him and all that, and and all the guys are freaking out because they want to know where he was with the two girls in the bar scene and all that, and they just won't accept the fact that it was made up, and that stop.
So they had Photoshop in 1967.
Yeah, I guess so. But he kept saying, you quit living through me. Basically, it's like he didn't want it. He didn't want them to.
We didn't want their admiration.
He didn't want it. So I think you hit it right on the head that there's a real likelihood that the character probably had a scenario like that he was rewarded for his individual heroism or whatever, and didn't want the responsibility, because you pretty much see a pattern through his whole life. He didn't want the responsibility.
Yeah. So this is based off a book, and I'm wondering if the book provides any more of that backstory. I'd be curious.
I haven't read it, so I wouldn't
Well,
know.
no, I didn't realize it was based on a book until I was doing some research on it. I guess the book came out in like 65. The movie came out in 67, but it was supposed to take place in the 50s.
Oh wow!
If I understand all the time right.
Yeah.
I thought
it was Wikipedia.
I thought it was current day. Like
No. This was supposed to take place in the 50s. So you know he's a Korean War vet, which was in the 50s.
Oh,
and
that
it
makes
was
sense. Yeah.
pre-Vietnam. Yeah.
Right. By the way, can I tell you guys my my favorite scene with Luke?
Yeah.
My favorite scene with Luke is the egg eating contest. Essentially, I thought I don't know what it was about that scene, but as kind of, you know,
He was pretty. Go ahead.
It showed his sheer will. That's like the That's like the redeeming quality
To prove everybody wrong. I mean, that was like
right.
It was another one of those deals to me that made me mad, because it's like, dude, you know, it's like somebody who's got all the potential in the world, but routes it to all the wrong things.
Stupid stuff.
Yeah, but hold on. But that was to me harmless, and that showed his will. And I agree with you. That same will was used for things that weren't harmless.
Well, they asked him why he chose 50 eggs and not like 35. He's like, well, it just seemed like a nice round number. I mean, really? Like,
you know what? I respect that.
Yeah,
I mean, that was a good challenge.
He never planned anything. He just did whatever he felt like doing.
That part of it didn't bother me. Like that scene endeared, I think, most of the audience, maybe not you guys, to Luke.
And the boxing scene, of course, was amazing.
Yeah, well, the boxing scene was great, but I would say that was counterproductive.
I didn't know much about. Obviously, I'd never seen the movie. I didn't know that much about it. One of the things that did strike me, I mean, there were a lot of things that really kind of bugged me about it, but the thing that I thought was on point, basically from start to finish, was I loved visually. I thought it was amazing. Like from the very beginning, when you see the violation pop up to the very end scene.
Oh yeah,
awesome.
The parking meter violation. Yeah.
The way it was shot and the way it was directed was amazing. It was so on point. I loved everything about that. There were a lot of things I didn't, but that by far it was a really cool visual movie.
Well, you see why
really
won Oscars and is regarded as a classic movie, because
I love
it's a well put together movie.
Yeah, the reflection off the sunglasses from the guy, you never see his eyes. I loved seeing all that, and
still don't even see his eyes too when he gets Dragline knocks him out. The glasses go off. The glasses go off, but they don't ever show his face.
You know what? Itching to shoot him though. Itching to shoot his ass.
You know what I find interesting is, like, they went so far to prove what you guys were saying, that he's one of these people that just, you know, does stuff knowing that it's going to hurt him, and does it anyway.
But he's stubborn. Yeah.
Right, the stubbornness, exactly. Because
we all know people like that.
Yes, we do. He was a broken man at one point, and he said, "Don't hit me anymore. Oh God, I pray to God you don't hit me anymore. I'll do anything you say, but I can't take anymore." And then after that, he still tried to escape.
Yep.
But he did admit. I mean, but Dragline said, you know, "Oh, you had him all along," and he goes, "No, I didn't." Like
he was broke. Yeah,
he was legit messed up. And what really bothered me about that whole part was that the convicts were so shallow. You know, that when he was their hero, like, he could do no wrong, no matter when he was doing wrong that was actually going to hurt them. But when he actually broke and started trying, you know, he had nothing left. They watched him go through that whole ordeal,
and they were done with him.
And they were done with him. It was like, dude, no compassion whatsoever. You guys are assholes. All of you are assholes.
Speaking of those convicts, that was a pretty nice looking group of convicts. I mean, think about it. Like, you know, those guys didn't look rough at all.
Did you notice the young Dennis Hopper?
Dennis Hopper, Harry Dean Stanton was in that. Yeah, there was a lot of young. Although I don't think Dennis Hopper really spoke and had many lines or anything.
He was apparently Baba.
I don't think he had any lines.
I know, but he was there.
He was in the background.
Yeah.
Harry Dean Stanton had a couple lines.
Harry Dean Stanton was which character?
Was
Where's Harry? Oh, Tramp.
There you go, Tramp.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I remember him.
That dude's been in a billion
movies. Yeah.
Everything. So I had some good. I mean, like George. Sorry, I'm blanking on his name again.
George Kennedy.
Kennedy. I know him from the Naked Gun movies.
Yeah, I kept seeing that. I kept thinking Naked Gun the whole time I'm watching.
Me too. I'm like,
he's been in a ton of stuff. He's actually still alive. He's 90 years old.
Jeez.
Most of the guys in that movie are dead, but he's still alive.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, well,
Naked Gun movies.
Me too. All three of them are on Netflix, by the way, just in case you're wondering.
You know, it's funny. You guys, we talked about. You remember when we talked about how we're gonna watch it, like where we can watch it? Well, last night I was watching movies on HBO Go, and sure enough, Cool Hand Luke is on there.
Is it? Darn, I have HBO Go, and I very sketchily found stuff on YouTube. I'm going to say.
Yeah. Well, Matt sent me a super sketchy link for this movie, but we won't talk about that.
Yeah. I don't like to deal with that kind of stuff.
I use the same one. Like Matt was saying, if you just had to click on it like 17 times, and finally it would play.
Yeah,
it kept wanting to download a random crap.
It's got all your credit card information now, by the way.
Yes,
so annoying.
All we're going to do is take your credit card information. We won't run it. We promise.
So how many eggs do you think, if push comes to shove, how many do you think you could down?
Oh man, you know what? After that movie, I almost want to try it.
After that movie, I don't want to try it.
Yeah.
Well,
Matt, what I read,
Matt, we live
on that. He only ate 8 eggs for that. They just kind of filmed it in a way that made it look like he had more, and then the cast and crew finished all 50 eggs, and it said on IMDb that there was terrible flatulence the next day.
You think?
Yeah.
Well, Matt, we live within an hour of each other. One of these nights, we're gonna have to try that.
You guys are too old for that. Now you're actually like Cool Hand.
That's like eating a whole spoonful of cinnamon or some dumb shit like that.
Hey, I did.
Think of the cholesterol.
I did 9 hamburgers with the buns in 41 minutes.
Oh. When was that?
Quarter-pound hamburgers, like maybe 5 years ago.
Jesus.
And you're not married yet? I find that hard to believe.
That's at the top of the resume.
Oh man! You know what? I was proud of that moment, and I hate that you guys are taking that away from me.
No, I give you props. That's amazing. The most I ever did was back when I was 18. I had 3 quarter-pounders, 3 large fries, and 3 large sodas in an hour.
Well, these were weighed quarter-pounders, like from the supermarket.
Mine is 1.5 large pizzas from Marion's. Right, Matt?
Pretty good. Yep. Oh, I love Marion's.
I beat Matt in an eating contest there.
And then I think I had the record at the Reds ballpark. I had 7 hot dogs, 1 brat, 1 Met, and a couple bags of peanuts.
I regretted that next day too after eating all those hot dogs. That was brutal.
Wait, at the Reds ballpark you spent like $100 on an eating?
No, free food.
We had free food.
How'd you have free food?
My dad had it from something at work.
Yeah, you had a company outing there or something like that. Where all the
I was going to say that. Otherwise, that's the dumbest competition in the history of the world.
Yeah, it was free. That's why we did it. It was high school too.
Yeah. Well, when you're 18, you can pretty much do whatever you want.
Exactly. I just remember the next day I was rough.
In high school, I did 21 soft taco supremes.
Oh, Jesus.
In under an hour. I don't remember exactly, but it was under an hour. That was the bet.
21?
21 soft taco supremes.
That's a lot.
Jesus.
That's a lot. That's Taco Bell too. That's back when they
was that? Was that like
grade F meat in it?
Was that like $20?
No, it was about 8.
Yeah.
So
maybe $5.
So my buddy had to pay for the food, and if I won, he had to give me a 10 spot on top of that.
Nice. But that was back when Taco Bell had like a 39, 59, 89, and 99 cent menu or something.
I forgot about the 59, dude.
Oh yeah.
Oh god.
Yeah. It was like the bean burritos and just the basic level tacos and stuff.
So we're going off the rails here. Let's get back to the movie.
Well, you don't want to talk more about your eating exploits and get your rating higher?
I just wanted to interject and toot my own horn, but I'm ready to get back to the movie.
All right.
Let me go back to that scene with when the mom shows up at the prison. How bad would that suck to have to get transported in the back of a pickup truck with a bed under your malaria tent hanging over top of it, and she's got emphysema, obviously, or cancer and emphysema, and still smoking.
Yep.
Still
the good old 50s.
You know what? That's how Paul Newman actually died too.
What? What do you mean?
Yeah.
Well, explain.
He died. Died of lung cancer, I believe.
Was he a smoker the whole time?
Yes. Yeah, lifelong smoker.
Yeah, but he died at like 80 something.
Yeah,
it's not like he was young.
Yeah, he died here just a few years ago.
Okay.
2008. 83 years old.
Yeah.
From Shaker Heights, Ohio.
There you go, Cleveland.
Boy, there you go. That's cool. I didn't know that.
Born in 1925.
Wow. Old dude. Good for him for living so long.
Good looking dude is what he was.
Yeah, well, he was married for a long time to the same woman too, which is unbelievable.
Yeah, every lady I've ever talked to about him seems like they find him attractive.
Yeah.
And of course, Diego's the one that brings that up.
Well, you know what? I'm a secure man who can talk about other men who are handsome.
Somebody was bound to bring that up.
I know, but it's even more impressive being that you forgot who Lucille was.
If you had to vote on it, you mean that was going to be your vote?
Yeah, that is kind of strike two, because you forgot about Lucille.
I didn't forget. I didn't know. I didn't forget. Trust me, I didn't forget. I didn't know what you guys were referencing for some reason. Did you guys say Lucille?
No.
That's the thing. I don't think I knew.
That's what Dragline called her. That's what he called her.
I just meant.
At that point, I couldn't hear anything.
The bobby pin.
My eyes were working. My ears were not.
Remember he was praying. He was praying for that pin to pop.
Yep. Pretty risque for a movie in 1967.
Again, I think he sounded like the biggest rapist ever.
Well, maybe that's why he was in there.
No,
well, he only had 2 years though. I don't know. Maybe maybe that was what rape was like in the South back then. I don't know.
Well, women's suffrage hadn't gone far enough at that point, I guess.
Yeah.
Had he not been shackled, I'm telling you, he would have raped her.
He was.
Maybe.
It sounded like.
Yeah.
It's very possible. It's very possible. I mean, they were all criminals, but I'm just, as I said earlier, for a bunch of criminals, those guys, like, you wouldn't be afraid to be in a room with them.
It was like summer camp.
And you know what? And this is not supposed to be offensive, so that means it probably will be. But there were no minorities in that prison camp at all.
No. Well, that's an attempt at maybe being
segregation.
Well, it could be segregation, or it could be a liberal, movie maker who wanted to show, hey, criminals aren't minorities always.
No, come on, nobody thought. It's probably
nowadays.
Nowadays, what that is that's 1967 Hollywood, and I think there was only like black guys in Hollywood.
No, I agree. You guys are.
I think they didn't want to turn, like, they thought it would be, negative towards the public that would come to watch it or something, perhaps. Yeah. But it wasn't a rough-looking prison crowd, is all I'm going to say.
I did tell Matt, because
hold on. Let me just say one thing. It could also be, that particular area at that time was very white, and it would be not accurate to have minorities in prison.
But they were in Florida. The people in Florida are like weird, like crazy people, even to this day.
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying, maybe there was no black people or no Hispanic people or whatever at that time.
In Florida, where all the cities are named after Cuban or Latino things.
This is way more likely to do with Hollywood than it has to do with anything in life, anything.
All right,
but that certainly struck me as odd when I watched it.
What struck me,
this is kind of movie too. Go ahead, Brian.
I was just going to say, I told Matt when I'd never seen this, but I had seen the Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence movie Life back in the 90s.
Right.
It was like that movie was basically half of Cool Hand Luke. Just back version.
Yeah.
It was a totally different. It was the same exact format of that movie.
I didn't really care for that movie. I didn't think it was all that good.
There were some good scenes, but it was basically the same thing. So when you're watching Cool Hand Luke, it's kind of like, oh, that's where they got that idea from. I mean, it was pretty evident.
So I probably saw this. Go ahead.
No, I'm done.
Pretty evident where?
Over.
Oh, okay. No, I mean,
Over.
I saw this movie probably the first time, and maybe when I was in high school or something. And this is kind of like The Karate Kid for me. So when you watch a movie when you're younger, you don't have a very good experience out in the world and can see things in a different way. you don't realize how the protagonist is a turd and, you know, deserves the beating that they get, much like the Karate Kid. Same thing. Cool Hand Luke.
Hold on.
The first time I saw it when I was younger, and now I watched it again, I'm not sympathetic towards him at all.
Hold on. We haven't reviewed the Karate Kid, and I don't really get where you're coming from when it comes to the Karate Kid. I understand.
When's the last time you saw the Karate Kid?
That's the thing. I need to watch it again, I guess. But with Cool Hand Luke,
on TV. Watch it again.
All right. Well, with Cool Hand Luke, I completely agree with you. And now you're getting me interested in maybe having the Karate Kid be one of the movies you.
Well, Jason is picking next, I think, right?
Yeah, I'm sure that's coming up. But, you know, with
hold on. Whose turn is it next?
Jason, I think.
Oh. Yeah, but I've Karate Kid everything to death. I think we're good on the Karate Kid. I don't think I need to devote, you know, a lot more time unless you guys pick that. I'm good with it.
What we should do is make a podcast of the Karate Kid and then have someone steal it and take it as their own idea.
Hold on.
Oh man.
I think
that's rough.
I think we absolutely have to do the Karate Kid. I'm sorry.
I think we can.
No, the fact that you have you had a website devoted to Billy Zabka makes it crazy for us not to review the Karate Kid.
I haven't seen that movie in 20 years either.
Well, yeah, but it fits within, you know, the theme of our show.
That's what I mean. I'm good with
watching our podcast.
I wouldn't mind watching it again because I haven't seen it.
Let's do it. We have to do it. I don't care if you do it, JJ, but
he's got to do it.
Well, if he doesn't do it, I'm going to do it. So somebody has to do it.
We'll figure that out. But the one, getting back to this one, you know, the one thing that again with the context is I don't know what the first movie was that made the criminals the protagonists and the cops and the good guys the turds. We see that all the time. I mean, all you have to do is look at, you know, I mean, just about every movie that's out, you know, where it does the same thing. So it was crazy. You know, you start to see that right away, and it's kind of going, you know, looking at this thing backwards now. It was hard to, you know, I had to almost think that way, that okay, this was probably one of the first times that they really tried to do this. So, you know, don't come into it with all this external baggage from getting beaten down with that bullshit for, you know, every movie.
Right. And I think too, when Matt read the description, like the sadistic prison warden, probably at that time that would be considered sadistic, but you know, that movie was how many years ago was that? 47, 48 years ago?
And set in the 50s.
Right. So
you know,
all these movies now, the prison wardens are sadistic, like the Shawshank Redemption, you know, like that blows away anything that was even close to the Cool Hand Luke. And it probably skews our view of what the authority figures are like. But when an audience in 1967, to Ryan's point, probably didn't have a lot of movies reference, you know, like that. And so they probably seemed sadistic at that point.
Yeah, I had that.
Much like gun violence, we've been numb to prison violence.
And just the flipping.
I never got more emails from you.
Can't hear you.
Is Diego in the same room?
I said I don't think I've ever gotten more emails from you in a week than I did this week.
But they weren't opinion emails; they were just linked to articles.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like, what is Jason going to propose? He's going to propose that he's going to send out 10 links to articles about bullshit. That's his.
You guys make your own opinions. Make your own opinions. That's why I'm not giving them to you.
Well, hold on. So I'll say this, and this isn't a gun control debate show, but I'll say this: I have a handgun, and I believe in my right to own that handgun. And I also sympathize and understand your argument. So it's a very tough situation. It's a very tough situation.
And the other part of it that makes it even doubly difficult is that you have very strong lobbies on both sides, but the strongest lobby is on the gun side. And so, don't expect to change anytime soon.
Yeah, I think you have too many gun-toting liberals to go along with the gun-toting conservatives.
Yeah, there's not an anti-gun party that's given any money to anybody. It's the gun group. So, and the sad part is, like, the four of us,
really well.
The four of us, we're most likely to be killed by somebody that looks and is like one of us than a criminal.
Yeah. Well,
I just don't want to piss off, some guy with mirrored sunglasses and a rifle.
Shooting a church.
and when I'm talking shit to him out the window, like taunting him again. So,
yeah, using his line, the failure to communicate line back again. Yes.
I like
that. Okay, let's get back to that, actually. Why do you think that line, which seems like a really macho line, was delivered by what we got here is a failure to communicate.
He's got this really high pitched, like,
right. Why do you think he had a high pitched voice? I think that was purposeful.
I think so too, because it was like the anti-authoritative. It's not a big tall guy with a big deep voice commanding presence. It's this little diminutive guy who's got this weird squirrely kind of physical vibe about him, and this really high pitched Southern voice. He's just really weird. It was just the strangest. So like, how is this guy in charge of everybody else? Because he's got to be sick and twisted, right? He has to be.
Yeah, I mean, I think that those types of voices are a lot more effective and a lot freakier than someone just yelling and screaming, because that's what everyone does. So when you have a guy who he's like more under control, and when he's saying this stuff, it just kind of reminds me of Hannibal Lecter, obviously without the high-pitched voice.
Puts the lotion in the bottle.
That's Buffalo Bill.
That's Buffalo Bill, yeah. Or it gets the hose.
But that's what I was thinking before he even said Hannibal.
Barbara Beans.
Yeah.
That's funny.
A high-pitched Southern voice, can definitely seem more intimidating after you see the movie Deliverance.
Oh, yeah, definitely. All right, so we still have to rate the movie, and we still have to give our favorite line or favorite quote.
But before we do that, there was a dude in this movie who was like sticking out, and I couldn't freaking remember who he was, and I had to go back into IMDb and look at it. But the dude that played Carr, Clifton James, he played Sheriff Buford Puce or whatever in 2 James Bond movies. It's kind of comic relief. Did you guys remember him? Weaver, you're a big James Bond guy.
Now,
which Bond movies was he in?
Which guy was that?
His name was Carr in this movie, one of the lackey guys, but he was the sheriff in 2 James Bond movies, in Live and Let Die, and he was the Southern sheriff guy who kept trying to chase him in cars and stuff like that.
Oh, those are the really, really, really bad 70s Bond movies. Carr, yeah, Clifton James, yeah, he plays basically the same character in like everything.
Yes, exactly, and he was kind of comic relief. Live and Let Die is not a bad Bond movie. It's good soundtrack, interesting. Young Jane Seymour is awesome. What? It's not bad. What?
I watched that one and Man with the Golden Gun. All those like mid 70s ones are
for a Roger Moore Bond's movie. That's pretty good.
Yeah. I don't think. I don't know. He had a couple okay ones in the '80s, but those '70s ones were rough, man. Even the tail end of Connery's movies were rough.
I try to stay away from Roger Moore.
Diamonds Are Forever.
Diamonds Are Forever is horrible.
Not great.
Horrible.
Worst Bond girl ever in that movie too. And the oldest, I'm pretty sure.
Surprised Brian was.
All right, let's get back to
it. It's like, oh yeah.
This isn't the James Bond podcast, although we can definitely do that. Connery is the iconic James Bond for everybody.
The funny part was going back and listening to the podcast. I think Brian didn't realize his overuse of iconic until I posted the first one. But the funny thing was, I didn't post that until after we had already done like 3. So iconic I used quite a bit.
Oh my God. I think iconic was used like 30 times between all 4 of us. Easily. I'm not kidding.
I killed it. I don't think I ever need to say that word again.
No. It's definitely not a word you should use for a while.
Unless something's truly iconic, then you can use it.
I can truly do it.
But the question is Cool Hand Luke iconic? Or is it a classic? Or is it just a really darn good movie?
I would say classic is more appropriate. But,
it's no In the Line of Fire.
Oh, dude,
the only thing that could have made this movie better was instead of Luke being shot, Luke falling from a building or or the warden
for
falling,
18
the captain
minutes.
falling from the building.
Guys, you guys can dog my selection all you want, but I will stand by the fact that I think that is one of the great movies of its time.
And you'll stand by the fact that you're wrong.
And you'll be standing alone. You're like Cool Hand Luke.
As much as I like the idea of each of us picking a different movie every week, I'm almost tempted to just let Diego do it every week, just because we get, we've done what, 6 now, and by far the best one was Diego's choice.
Hey, by the way, there was no waiting on Diego today. I just want to point that out.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah.
Amazing. That's what happens. You go 4 weeks in between a podcast.
Yeah. By the way, podcast every 4 weeks.
Yeah, we can't allow this to happen. I'm DVRing my Dallas Cowboys right now, so please don't talk about the game. I'm doing this because I'm committed to this podcast.
Now, you know damn well if Tony Romo was playing, you wouldn't be DVRing.
And the Cowboys suck.
No, if Tony Romo was playing right now,
right.
I can guarantee you we would have to postpone this podcast.
Wasn't the great Brandon Weeden?
For a 5th week. But I will say this. I think we need to do a better job of, making sure that we try and do it on a daily basis until we can get all 4 of us to do it, because it's ridiculous that 4 weeks have gone by.
Yeah, it's really hard to do it if you haven't watched it right away. I mean, it's been a couple weeks. It makes it a lot tougher.
Yeah, I can't. I'm having a tough time because I saw it 3 weeks ago for the first time ever.
Yeah, I saw it 2 weeks ago, I guess.
Is Brian the only one that hasn't seen it before?
What do you mean? I had never seen it.
Oh, really?
I had never seen it. Absolutely.
You're too busy eating soft taco supremes with your life to watch the good movies.
Now, you know what? I never had a way to watch old movies. We didn't have cable growing up.
Yeah, I didn't have cable until I was in high school, just because I lived in a rural area. So
we're poor Hispanics. We don't have access to cable.
Yeah, you and Marco Rubio.
You think he lied about that?
No, I don't. Who care? I don't care. I don't care. They're all politicians. They all lie. I don't care.
Yeah, they all lie.
All right, I'm certainly lying.
So where are we going at? Where are we going? Where are we at the time to talk our review or our rating or what?
Did we all come to some consensus on whether this is?
I mean, it's a prison flick about a dude who is not a very likable protagonist as somebody watching the movie, but if you're around him, is very charismatic, and but the dude would just crap his life down the tubes. And did that cover everything?
Yeah, I mean, it was really tough because, like I said, I mean, visually, I thought it was phenomenal, and I'm sure at its time it was like just cutting edge the way it was cut and shot.
Right.
But I thought the story, in a lot of respects, was just pointless.
Yeah, I mean, you felt just not sympathetic towards the main character.
Not a bit. And if anything, you're like, dude, you're wrecking guys who already have bad lives. You're wrecking their lives even more. I mean, the guy was just a human tornado, and you're just like,
you know what? I think sometimes people look too hard into something for a reason why people are doing stuff, and they're just looking. They're like, you know what? Don't always have to have the beer with the chocolate with a hint of cinnamon. You can just you could just enjoy the movie and not go too deep into it and just enjoy it for what it is, which is an iconic prison movie with a very beautiful Lucille and some great acting by especially Dragnet. Dude, that guy was
Dragnet, yeah, that's true. He was also on Dragnet. You're right.
George Kennedy.
Well, I think you don't have to look deep. I mean, it's not like looking deep. I just think that if you're an adult and you've had adult experiences, you sort of see this character, kind of as Brian puts it, is like, dude, not only you're crapping your own potential down, but you're taking other dudes who don't deserve it with you.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to the quotes here.
Hold on, before I get the quotes, I got to be a nerd for a second too. And so I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years ago, there was a really cool comic book written. It was called The Joker. I'm going to correlate it to this, so bear with me.
I'm all for it.
It was actually really, really interesting. So it's about the Joker, obviously Batman's villain, but it was about how the Joker got hooked up with this low-level street criminal, and the criminal kind of went into Joker's gang and got to be part of all that kind of stuff. But ultimately, at the end, this thug gets killed as part, being a part of Joker's gang. And I think it's like it relates really well to one of those poor bastards at the prison with Cool Hand Luke. Cool Hand Luke's the Joker, and these other dudes are kind of like the prison's maybe Dragline. It's kind of, it was a really interesting perspective for a comic book to take, and a serious one at that. And I think hearing Brian talk kind of made me think of that comic book in the same way. It was very similar to that. It's like you got a bad dude like the Joker, you got a piece of shit low-level street thug, and his life follows this guy and ultimately ends up getting him killed. So there you go. That's my nerding out. We can continue.
You know what? As much as I'd like to make fun of you right now, your nerdness is very valuable to this podcast.
Perfect. I have a purpose in life.
You do. Okay, so let's do quotes. Who wants to start?
I'll start. I think I said it already. I think when you were talking about like the sadistic warden and all that, I think when he was being preemptively chucked in the box for the first time, and then Cool Hand Luke says to him, doesn't make it right. Like the guy says, I'm just doing my job, and Cool Hand Luke says, that doesn't make it right. I think that's kind of, I think that was right on, and one of the few things that he said that actually felt sympathy for him in the entire movie, right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mine was when, obviously, the car wash scene was pretty badass. And when Dragline says, Lord, whatever I've done, don't strike me blind for another couple of
Don't strike me blind now.
I love that.
I love that song. I love that one too. Yeah, I was going between that and I was thinking, well, maybe wish you'd stop being so good to me, Captain. After just being
that's a good one
punishment, but I think I'm gonna go with just nothing, handful of nothing. You stupid mullet head. He beat you with nothing, just like today when he kept coming back at me with nothing.
Is that the poker scene?
Yeah.
Where he gets his nickname, his Cool Hand Luke nickname. We didn't even talk about that.
Well, there we go.
Okay, so based on poker.
We didn't finish it, but the whole line, then the end of it is, sometimes nothing can be a real cool hand.
Oh, that's right.
Well,
that's right.
Well, that's another quote. That was the other quote.
That's the movie. That is like a huge part of the movie. I think that not only his name comes from that, but that explains where that name comes from. I mean, that if we would have not, explained that would have been really bad.
Well, before we end up, because I know, Diego, go ahead with your quote, but before we go to the ratings, there's one other thing I wanted to kind of put a bow around the storyline for me.
All right. So you want me to go?
You go.
Yeah, go ahead. You do yours.
Okay. This is Dragline. He was smiling. That's right. That Luke smile of his. He had it on his face to the very end. Hell, if they didn't know it full, they could tell right then and there they were going to beat him. That old Luke, he was some boy. Cool Hand Luke. Hell, he's a natural-born world shaker.
And that was a perfect.
Wait, is that George Kennedy?
Yes, absolutely,
man. Yeah,
sounds exactly like him.
That was pretty funny.
I worked on it, man. I worked on it.
No, that was perfect, Diego, because I was hoping you would say that one, because that was the one where, not only does it ties up the story a lot of different ways. Obviously the boss shot him,
movie, right?
Kill him, yeah, but and then the fact that Luke got one up on him because he was smiling, so it didn't matter. They never broke his spirit. No one ever broke the guy's spirit, right? But at the same time, now you got Dragline sitting in the back of this truck pointing to the church that he got shot at. Obviously, he's still in prison. He's telling the story of this hero that they had made up. So it was everything all wrapped up in one line, in one quote. And
yep.
Yeah,
and that poker scene too was certainly representative of his character, right? Like he was ready to self-destruct on that hand. He just got lucky and bluffed those guys out. He was throwing money. He didn't give a crap, right? He was just stubborn. wasn't gonna stop, right?
Yeah, and that showed who he was. And then the other part of that quote, Diego, that again just kind of made, for me, it just kept hitting home. I just really got pissed because when he said, he's a natural born world shaker, and you're thinking, yeah, if the guy could have channeled the gifts that he had, he could have been a great leader. But instead, he didn't shake up the world. He shook up one prison camp in Florida and ended up getting shot over cutting the heads off of parking meters.
Yep.
That's why he died, because he's a freaking idiot.
He's crapped everything away.
I 100% agree, and it's one of those things where you can't view him as a protagonist. You can't.
Yeah.
Much like the Karate Kid.
Well, we'll get to that, because we will get to that. If it's me or if it's you who picks it, we're going to get to that. So, all right. So let's get to our rating, because I think that, after an hour, it's about time.
Okay.
I'm not going to start. I'm going to go last.
Let's let Matt start, because this is his movie.
Let's see. Well, before I get to that, my quote was going to be the quote about right when he first came back and they were giving the rules, when Carr was giving the rules. And, but that was, that would take me 5 minutes to read that.
Night in the box.
Night in the box.
Night in the box. Sneeze, night in the box.
You could do that. We can go.
Lit in your belly bean, night in the box.
We can go an extra few minutes.
With the foreshadowing, you just knew the fact that they had shown the box when they first came to camp, and then reiterated that, you're like, oh, guaranteed.
Here's what's going to happen. Yeah, he's going in the box.
He's going in the box.
Going in the box.
All right. Who's going to start?
Matt.
I am going to give it. I'm going to give this 9.5 nights in the box.
Oh, nice. Nights in the box.
Is that out of 10?
Out of 10.
You gotta say what it's out of, because you guys are weird.
I know.
You go out of 11 or 12 or 15.
Jason's the only one that messes up the rating.
Here's a question: Is Nights in the Box better than Nights at the Roxbury?
Yes, probably.
Which is more torturous, watching that movie or being stuck in the box? Actually,
yeah, I think I'd rather sit in the box all night.
I think I would too. And watch Chris Kattan.
Oh, by the way, have you seen him lately?
No.
Oh my God, it's terrible. I don't know what's going on with that guy, but
he's turning into Mr. Peepers.
Yeah, and you could also tell that we haven't done this in a while, because we've been going for almost an hour, and we forgot to even mention that we were drinking tonight.
Oh, yes. Before we do that,
all right, Matt, give your drink in now since you did your rating.
Before we do that, I want to know, Matt, how many times have you seen this movie?
I actually have seen it. I'm not even sure, because I've seen it a lot just on TV. Every time it's on, I watch it. I didn't watch this early on. I know a lot of people have seen this before me. So I know you and Diego haven't seen it until just now. And I'm sure Jason has seen it before I did.
Yep.
I know Jason and Nate, especially I think Nate was the one that was just talking about it over and over and, saying how good it was. So it's kind of surprising that I would actually like something that Nate was the one that suggested years ago. So I didn't see it. I didn't even see it. I'm not even sure if I saw it in college or was it after.
By the way,
college?
We're not talking about Michigan versus Ohio State, so I don't know why that's so surprising. Why can't you like something that Nate likes?
Because Nate is always wrong.
That's true.
But anyway, yeah. I've seen other movies more, but there's just something about this movie that I just really like, even if he is an idiot for most of the time. I just enjoy movies sometimes where there doesn't have to be a plot. Like, there's no plot in this movie. It's just there to watch and enjoy. You don't need to have a plot sometimes. That's why I think sometimes movies are so.
Is it a character study, Matt?
Yeah.
Is it a character study?
It's not even. It's nothing. It's just enjoying watching a guy just
self-destruct.
Not giving a shit and just doing whatever the hell he wants, and then that's it. 2 hours later, and he's dead, and it's over.
You don't think about it more.
What are you drinking?
Well, I'm getting. I think I got something from Costco.
Costco.
I can't remember if it was Beck's.
Big shot.
Yeah.
Beck's beer from Costco. That's a stretch.
It is a stretch.
Well done.
Who's next?
Weaver. Brian.
Oh man. All right. So wow. Yeah, this was tough for me because
You're a hater.
No, I'm not a hater. I'm really not. I really don't like prison movies. That is one of, I don't ever.
Wait a minute.
Ever.
You don't like prison movies?
Drinks. We're talking about.
You don't like
drinks.
prison movies? Have you ever seen Chained Heat and Chained Heat 2?
Hold on,
70s exploitation flicks with the finest women in prison. You watch those and go back and rethink about your stance on prison.
We're not talking about your. We're not talking about your rating. We're talking about what drink.
Oh, my bad. I get easily confused. I am drinking Pinot Noir out of a pint glass.
Okay.
Out of a pint glass, Pinot Noir. That's classy.
Hey.
Yeah.
That's like Donald Trump classy.
Hey, B-Weave.
Yes, sir.
I will say this: even if you get easily confused, you are definitely the radio voice of our show.
That's right.
So
not everybody gets to do Ohio State football game previews.
So if that makes you feel any better, it doesn't matter whether you're not that bright. You sound good.
But he's bright too, and handsome.
I'm not just.
I'm just saying, just in case anyone thinks he's not bright, he sounds good. We all know.
Brian Weaver and I have played a lot of Trivial Pursuit and other boards game together where we smoked people on him. So he's a bright guy.
Oh, dude, I'm sweating.
You know what? I don't know how.
And he's an architect, not a George Costanza architect, an actual architect.
Well, listen, and that takes a smart guy who doesn't want to make a lot of money.
Exactly. So how,
Is that wait a minute? Is that really smart though?
exactly.
Hey,
You're
by
like
the way,
Cool Hand Luke blowing away your God-given gifts.
by the way,
Exactly.
B-Weave, I have to say, we can't do this show that much longer without all of us meeting, because you're the only person I haven't met.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, obviously, I've met you, and obviously I'm boys with Matt.
Yeah.
So we got to get this thing done.
I was gonna say me and my internet friends.
No, B-Weave, we've got to set something up where we all meet up.
Yeah, man.
For sure.
Man.
Yeah. All right.
I want to do that. So
We just let the audience in, and the audience of zero in on the fact that we don't all know each other. Well, I feel like I know you from all the.
You've not met person in person.
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly. It is weird.
So for anyone that's listening, there's one person I have not met actually in person,
And there's maybe one person listening.
Hi, Mom.
It is hard to find our podcast.
Actually, there's no one listening right now because we don't have this, actually on the radio. So no one is actually listening.
One day we will all figure this out.
I'm just waiting for the damn In Line of Fire podcast.
I can't wait.
That's
Okay.
comedy
All right.
gold.
Yeah.
Let's not get sidetracked.
War
The war
Oh
games.
yeah, we'll get to that. We're gonna find
Whoever turns 50 first, that will be the present.
No,
games.
The Missing War Games podcast.
we're gonna find war games.
That
All
was
right.
probably our most academic podcast we've
That
ever
was
done too.
3.5 hours.
Stuff there.
All right,
3.5 hours.
So who's next with drinks?
Wait a minute. Doesn't Weave have to give his review too? His drinking
No, I
review?
He's got to give his drink. That's it for now.
All right. I'm having
Or
Hofbrau
out of a Coors
Oktoberfest,
Light.
much to Brian's chagrin. Suck it.
Yeah.
Hofbrau Oktoberfest.
I haven't had
Bite
a good
me.
beer all week. I've had a couple Oktoberfests, but I haven't had any really good beers.
I've been drinking whiskey lately. I drank whiskey last. Saskia and I went out to celebrate our anniversary a couple days early because it was Saturday night, better than a Tuesday, and I went out and drank whiskey at a Irish pub. It was good.
Yeah, nice.
Has Saskia expressed to you how much she regrets marrying you yet?
Oh my God! Only because of this podcast. Like, out of all the things to be broken by, the podcast. Out of
Every year for the
everything.
last 14 years.
Exactly.
You know what? Of the few times I've met Saskia, I really believe that she's way too good for you.
No, it's true.
You think?
You're right. You're honest. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm married up, as we all should. Come on, you met Matt's wife. She's clearly way too good for him.
That pretty much.
They usually are.
Then I would say that Brian's wife, it would be too good for him, but she's a Steelers fan, so.
Yeah. Well, I can't wait to meet both of them at some point soon. Hopefully.
Brian's wife used to call me when we were neighbors every time the Bengals lost to the goddamn Steelers, and she would. 5 seconds after the game was over, the phone would ring. It would be her harassing me.
How long have you guys known each other, by the way?
I don't know.
Well,
We
give me a
lived-
fucking estimate. So the audience knows.
10 years, Weaver. I've lived here almost 8, and
Yeah.
we knew each other for a couple years before I moved.
Yeah.
Wait,
crazy.
so Matt, you and Matt, how long have you guys known each other?
Since 1991.
Not you. Okay, I already know the answer. Well, I knew that you guys have known each other for a long time. I'm asking Brian and Matt.
Oh, I only know Matt. I've never met Matt face to face either.
Yep.
Oh,
You
no
haven't?
way. I didn't
No.
realize that.
No.
I did not realize that. I
Holy
assumed,
crap.
I assumed
No.
you guys had met.
Nope. I know. I've only seen JB a couple times face to face, and Brad a couple times.
Unlike
And that's it.
Kaiser Sose.
Well, I think, Brian, you met JB the first time in person at his surprise 40th birthday party
I
at his
did.
parents' house.
And it
That was the first
yeah,
time in
and
person.
And I met Brad before.
Brad.
Brad came down and played golf with me, and that was the first time I'd actually met face to face.
Justina, Jonathan's cousin.
Okay, good. I'm glad we're not talking about the other Brad.
No, not Renner.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That Renner and I are a sore subject.
Oh, jeez.
So I've never met Matt face to face.
Didn't you
All right.
drunkenly point your handgun at Renner when you guys lived together?
I never pointed my handgun at Renner.
Just me.
And if
Oh,
I
just Matt.
and if I
Okay.
did, well, hold on. But if I did, it was accidentally.
and that gun happened to be
Accidentally.
loaded as well.
It might have been drunkenly and accidentally.
See, you don't deserve to have a handgun. I'm
Exactly.
sorry. It needs to be
oh,
taken away
because I
from
made
you.
one mistake.
Yeah, one
I
little
only
mistake.
killed one person accidentally while drunk.
No, the one he pointed at me when he was sober. So
Oh.
you can't even use that as an excuse.
Oh, hold on. Matt fucking killed a large animal in front of me.
And I've never pointed a gun at anyone before, but I did kill an animal.
Yeah, I was like, what is wrong with this guy? He killed an animal through a sliding glass door. He like put
Oh, at his old house. Was it the raccoon or a possum?
Bullshit. Hold on.
What are we hearing here?
Sorry, that was me.
This is almost as bad as your kids.
Fighting.
Yeah, it's kind of weird having a podcast without Brian's kids in the background.
Yeah, no
Yeah,
shit.
They're their own character.
Well, I told you they were sick. So
All right,
they're-
all right.
All right, Diego, your drink. What are you
We're
drinking?
going off the rails here.
Let me just
right.
say, you put him in the box tonight. Is that what happened? They're getting out of line. You put him in
He
the box?
preemptively put them in the box because you knew they were going to be bad tomorrow. So they
And by the
snuck
way,
the box.
I fully support that.
Right.
All right.
I do too.
So I am drinking what I drink pretty often, and I have construction going on in my place, so I haven't really thought about getting different drinks for different episodes or different podcasts. So I'm drinking Jameson on the rocks.
Very nice. Very nice.
Who's next?
Well, so Matt gave his rating
else
and
will.
his drink. So we go to Brian for his rating.
Oh, okay. All right. No, I'm trying not to be a hater. I just I've never seen the movie. I don't really like prison movies all that much, but I tried to come into it with, no preconceived notions. I thought it was really, I mean, I've said it a couple times already, but I thought visually it was just a really cool movie. Very creative. It would have been amazing to see it, even remotely close to when it originally came out. But I just, maybe it was the way it was supposed to be, but I just kept getting angrier and angrier and angrier as the movie went on. And maybe that was part of, looking at it now, at the time I was like, God, it was just pointless. And I'll never watch that movie again. But, now that I kind of look back on it, I kind of think, well, maybe that was the point, but that was kind of my reaction to it was, yeah, it was cool. I liked it. I don't know that it's a movie I would watch on a regular basis, but I'm glad I saw it. I'm glad, it was one of those that's obviously on the list of classic movies that I had never seen. So I'm going to give it a conservative 35 out of 50 eggs.
Damn it! You took my rating.
35. Wow. Okay, so
I was going to use eggs. Damn
That's
it.
a 7. That's a 7.
There you go.
I'm just mad that you took my rating I was going to use.
Okay. So
Well, dude, go in front of me next time.
my turn.
Burn.
I want to echo a lot of B-Weave's sentiments on the movie and not, belabor this, so I'm gonna say I'm in line with B Weave, but I would give it a slightly higher rating. So I'm gonna say
You're in line with B Weave or in line of fire?
I'm gonna say I give it 8 Lucille's.
Ooh, nice. I'd give 2 big Lucille's.
You're just trying to save face from forgetting.
But by the way, that's 8 Lucille's out of 10.
Okay, all right. Thanks for getting the context of your rating. So I guess it's me. So definitely see how this movie was considered a classic. Tight script, good acting, well shot. I think
the acting was fantastic, regardless of whether you like the plot or not. Man, the acting was really good. A
lot of good actors, up and coming actors. Everything was well done. My problem is watching this day and age, like after seeing tons of different movies, but the first time I saw this, most recently when I saw it, I think it skews it a little bit. I definitely can't get on board, feeling sympathetic for a protagonist. It hurts it. But all in all, I'm going to go ahead and give it 8 shots to the neck out of 10. Still in the classic range.
So we're in agreement.
We're in agreement.
So what was your favorite? Right. What was your favorite scene in the movie?
My favorite scene in the movie? Mm-hmm. Car wash. Car wash.
Yeah. What else? What about you, Diego?
Well, I already told you it's the egg scene.
The egg scene and Brian.
There were a couple of them I really liked a lot. Actually, I did like the road paving scene. I mean, where Cool Hand Luke's kind of like,
got him inspired to do it. Yeah.
Well, they did that. They actually did that. They tarred like a mile of road.
An actual mile.
Yeah.
But you could see how he was a military leader. Like with that scene right there, you could see how he had military leadership. And I just want to know what the hell happened to him to cause it to go to crap.
And it's just like a giant, up yours to the bosses. It was great, that one. And then I did like the way that they made they shot the escape scene, the first one, where he's jumping back and forth over. Actually, both of them. The one when he runs into the kids and he convinces the kids to help him out, but the first one, jumping back, they're flashing and they're cutting it up, and it was just really cool. It was just the way that it was edited and directed was just really on point. It was just I just really enjoyed those.
In all honesty, like seriousness of like in a car wash scene, I think probably one of the few times I felt sympathetic for him in the movie was when he found out his mom died. He's playing the banjo all by himself, singing a song. That's kind of cool because
Plastic Jesus song, which is awesome.
Plastic Jesus, and Paul Newman learned to play the banjo just for that movie. So that was actually him playing the banjo too. So I give him credit for that.
Yeah, it's a really catchy tune, by the way.
All right, let's wrap this up.
My favorite scene was the very last scene in the movie when his head popped up in the car and he smiled. Actually, that was not my favorite because it was just you can't beat me.
Because you found him so handsome.
Yeah.
No. All right, so I think we have a classic movie, not iconic.
I thought just where he's having the conversation with God, and he's trying to find some kind of reconciliation to all the bullshit in his life that, maybe he came to finally some kind of peace that he had created a lot of the issues too, but
at the church at the end.
Yeah, at the end, and he's like, well, so what's it going to be? And then the cops show up. He's like, or a drag line shows up, and he's like, oh, so this is it. And then right behind him, it was just one of those.
So a lot of stuff I read about the movie too had tried to strong Jesus figure stuff is him, but I do not see that at all.
I mean, the only one that was obvious was when they laid him on his back. Like he was on a cross after he ate the eggs. I thought that was the only one that was obvious to me.
But see, I didn't understand that until I read that, though. Like I didn't think of that on my own. I don't see that.
Who's he reademing? Right?
Nobody. He's not. No one. He's bringing people down, not bringing people up.
Yeah.
Guys, I don't mean to interrupt here, but
yes, you do.
I feel like we're at the end of the show. And you guys are talking about stuff that's in the meat. I feel like you're talking about stuff that's in the meat of the
We can talk about it whenever we want to talk about it.
No, I'm just saying.
On this podcast,
we're getting a little off the rails here.
Don't point a gun at me, Diego. I can do it.
I think it's funny that it's Diego, the person who's trying to keep us on track.
He wants to watch the shitty Cowboys game that I'm watching right now.
We're at an hour and 19 minutes, and I'm kind of drunk, and I want to watch the Cowboys.
Yeah, you think you want to watch them, but you don't want to watch them.
Oh, I'd rather jump on points though if we think they're pertinent, and I think those are important parts of the overall analysis of the film though.
But who came up with that though? No, but I do not see a strong correlation with that.
Brian, we're not professors here, okay?
Sure we are. Professors of pop culture. I am.
If you're gonna do it, let's do the fucking thing right.
I've got my honorary degree from Cobra Kai Academy.
I respect the shit out of your analytical ability.
But as a man, I have no respect for you.
No. I actually think that Brian and Jason are incredibly talented people.
Thank you. I agree.
And Matt is just kind of like a warm body. But either way, I think that this podcast benefits a lot from you guys. But right now, I couldn't care less what you have to say.
All right.
That's fair enough. That's how my wife feels.
All right, let's close it up.
Well, see, Diego, did you catch that Luke's prison number was 37? And in the book of Luke 137, for with God nothing shall be impossible. There you go.
If that is accurate, that is the first profound thing you've said.
It is. It's in some of that background
stuff. Since I've known you.
But I still don't see how that relates directly to that story or of him.
I don't know.
What was possible?
I've known him for 14 years, and that's the most profound thing he's ever said.
Well done. Well done. All right, Plessinger, why don't you close this thing out?
All right. What are we doing next week? Jason, your choice.
It would be so cliche for me to pick The Karate Kid, and I was trying to steer away from it, given my past history with that. So if you guys want to do it, you're going to have to pick it. But I'm going to pick something that's readily available on Netflix. It's a classic movie from the late 1970s.
Hobo with a Shotgun?
Hopefully you guys have seen it. No, Hobo from Shotgun is like from 2 years ago. Hopefully you've seen it. If not, you're in for a treat. It is the classic The Warriors.
The Warriors?
What's that?
The Warriors.
Never seen it. Never seen it.
Well, you're in for a treat. It's about gangs in New York City and one crazy night of trying to escape back. The Warriors trying to escape back in their territory during an all-out gang war in New York City.
Okay.
Who's in that?
Nobody really famous.
I've never even heard of that movie.
All right, well, we'll do it. Either way. Can I ask a question? Whose turn is it after JJ?
I think it's back to you.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Because I need time to figure out what I'm going to do.
Well, did you get a chance to pick too?
Yeah, I picked Blazing Saddles.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Wait, you picked Blazing Saddles and you'd never seen it?
No, I'd seen Blazing Saddles 100 times. That was what was tough about watching that one again. But I watched. I guess somehow I got the talk was that I had picked Predator, which I did not. So I got a second choice, so I got to use that again.
Okay.
So I think JJ got Roadhouse.
Yeah.
Plessinger got this
I got the one nobody actually watched.
The Fire. So, yeah.
Yeah, Roadhouse. I have to admit, I saw it like a couple months before, and I thought I could do it, but apparently I didn't remember it as much as I would have liked.
Michael Beck. What the fuck is Michael Beck?
Nobody. You know who James Remar is, though. He's been in a bunch of stuff, but you guys have never seen The Warriors? Well, you're in for a treat.
All right,
it's on Netflix.
Let's sign off.
I think we should string this out a little bit longer. So, Brian, what did you think about Luke when?
Oh, Matt, I think it's time to sign off.
Oh my God, you cry like a baby.
All right.
Like a Romo.
Just can't wait to watch Brandon Weed throw a game clinching interception.
Yeah. I don't even need to look on ESPN, but I'm sure they're not winning.
All right, you guys are Bengals fans, so I think
When he played Cleveland, no, I got to take.
Oh, I think the Bengals are also 4-0 too, if I'm not mistaken.
Red Rocket.
Yeah, well,
All right, so what is it? So it's October 4th. So by November 4th, I expect to see you guys on for the Warriors.
1979 classic. You guys will love it. It's
All
better
right.
than In the Line of Fire, I promise.
all right, well let's
Actually might be
sign off.
rated.
All right. I guess we'll let Diego go watch his Cowboys lose another game.
Well, let's sign off for our fans. I mean,
All right.
The cover
Really
it looks terrible. The cover of people with afro, white dude walking around with no shirt.
Don't judge a book by its cover.
everybody done? Everybody done?
Yes, we're done.
All right, well,
Go watch
thank you.
your stupid game.
Thank you, everybody, for listening
Good job,
to
guys.
the podcast. And hopefully you will listen to the next Waiting on Diego.
All right. Later.
All right. Later.
All right, now we can.
That ditch is Boss Keene's ditch. I told him that dirt and it's your dirt. What's your dirt doing in his ditch?
I don't know, boss.
You better get in there and get it out, boy.